I hope I'm not putting you on the spot, but I love this. This is so cool.
Absolutely not. I couldn't very well talk to you for 10 minutes about how much I loved playing the guitar and singing songs, and I go, oh no, I'm not in the mood. Okay, I'll try it. This is Blue Mountains. I never been to the Blue Mountains, but I've been there in a song. Never have I loved like this one. It just keeps rolling on. And I never been hit by lightning, but I know that life is long. I've never been to the Blue Mountains, but I've been there in a song.
Spire.
Welcome back to Starting Now. I'm your host, Jeff Sarris. This is the show where I talk to entrepreneurs, creators, musicians, people of all walks of life to discover their unexpected paths to where they are today. Today is a very special treat. I had the opportunity to talk to singer-songwriter Peter Doran, and I've known Peter for a few years now. You might recognize his name because his song "Every Little Thing" is featured on the Minimalists Podcast as their main theme song, if you will. But Peter is an awesome guy. This was an amazing conversation, and he even was gracious enough to play his latest single for us acoustically over Zoom. So I'm going to definitely have that coming up very shortly. So I don't want to have too much preamble, but without further ado, let's dive right into my conversation with Peter Doran. During lockdown, then, you've been a busy guy working on music and recording, and you have an album coming out soon, Voices, right?
We'd done the majority of the recordings, and we were going to start the mixing process, and I think we did 2 days or something, 2 or 3 days, and there was kind of one day. I don't know how it worked over with you guys, but here it felt like there was one day, I forget, it was like early mid-March, where everything just stopped. Like everything was cancelled. Like all the concerts, all the, bookings, appointments, everything just was like, so it was right in the middle of when we were kind of starting the mixing that happened here. So
yeah, it happened really quickly. And especially for someone who, like you're going on tour, you're doing all these different things in public. I mean, that had to be just a dramatic shift in just sort of your day to day.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I suppose like from that point of view, I was kind of fully in recording mode, I think. So I hadn't like a whole tour booked in at that stage or anything. It was kind of like finish the thing, and then we'll spend a month or two mixing it, and then get a tour together, and it'll be great. So, but then obviously that's still kind of up in the air here. People are still not quite sure when things are going to start happening again. Hopefully it'll go smoothly and according to plan.
Yeah, for sure. Knows? Yeah, this has been, I think, just so unexpected for all of us to be, especially such a long period of time that, hopefully later this year things start to get back to the typical.
Yeah. God, I hope so.
So like, in this past year, you also recorded another album where you were, Stray Dogs. So you went back to some of your old songs, right? Was that 2020 that you did that, I think?
Yes, I think so. Time has gone kind of strange. I think it was definitely another lockdown project, and I did it here in this room. Yeah, I just wanted to do something here. Like we're like almost since last September with a little break here and there. We've been kind of on a 5-kilometer zone that we can't really go beyond.
Oh wow.
So as I said, always looking for things to kind of keep busy and keep saying. And that was because I have the space here and I have some microphones, and I was thinking there must be something I can do. And I just had this idea of going back over songs from the first 3 or 4 records and picking ones that even ones that I had kind of stopped playing maybe live as much as other ones, and said, these are still kind of nice songs, and I just wanted to record them very simply with acoustic guitar and vocal. yeah, I'd almost forgot about that project, because it was just something I did within a week or two, and then
nice.
put it up online. But yeah, I think it turned out quite nicely.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, all your stuff is just amazing. It's wonderful. Like, I really love what you do. And that's why I wanted to like have you on the show too, to sort of help showcase sort of what you're doing and everything you've done through the years, and dive into your story and where you came from, how I like to dive into origin stories to see how, like, whether entrepreneurs or just creators of any type, how they get to where they are, how they got to where they are today. So what was maybe your earliest memory of wanting to be a musician?
I kind of started playing an instrument when I think I was about 11. And I have a cousin, still do have a cousin, and he's like 5 years older than me. And so he at the time I was living in the town, and he lived out in the countryside, and his family had a farm. And I would just basically spend an awful lot of time with him. So he was the cooler older cousin, and he went through a phase of kind of getting into things and going really, really heavy on them, you know. And one of the kind of phases he went through was electric guitar. So he was, if I was 11, he was 16, say, so like teenager, super cool. And he bought a couple of nice electric guitars, and he had a huge Marshall amplifier, so like a big rock and roll stadium size amp in his tiny little bedroom. And so he would turn this thing up to the last, and I just thought this was so cool, you know. And you know, at that age, I guess you're hugely influenced by, you know, what's going on around you. So I thought this is the business. This is what I want to do. So I kind of got into it then, and my parents probably bought me a kind of starter electric guitar, and so, but I think my cousin probably did it for a year or two, and then kind of just lost interest. So he got into something else, but for me the interest stuck, and it really held. And I had a friend of my dad's, a guy called Vinny. He was obviously a good lot older than me, but he played guitar as well, and he was incredible. He was a phenomenal guitar player, and the nicest guy, and so humble, and wanted to share. And although I never had I had a couple of direct lessons with him, but mostly it was just kind of being around him. And I used to go see, he played in a cover band, like a rock cover band, and I used to go see them all over the country when I was 14 or 15, you know, and I shouldn't have been allowed in bars or anything, but they'd be kind of sneaking me in, and you'd like sit in the corner and be quiet. So I I guess it was in that, as for everyone, I'm sure, the teenage years, you know, from 11 to 17 or 18, what you're exposed to, you can kind of go really deep on. So it was kind of just being around him and seeing those shows, and him pointing me in a certain direction, you know what I mean? So I think the very first concert I ever went to was a guy called Joe Satriani, who's like wow. Yeah, so he's like this, you know, rock instrumental guitar dude. I think it was 11 or something. So in the Point Theatre in Dublin, and you know, when you're exposed to stuff like that at that age, your brain just kind of explodes. And I saw Metallica not that long after in the same venue. So that's, I guess, if there's an origin story, that's probably the big bang of being really into it. And it was kind of electric guitar for the first 4 or 5 years, and all I wanted to do was play as fast as I could, and as well as I could. And then somewhere there was just a shift to songwriting, and so yeah, that's I think the beginnings of it anyway.
Oh yeah, for sure. And starting with Satriani and Metallica, that is amazing. I love that. Because that's dropping you right in. I mean, to some, like, the iconic band, and like Satriani is, I mean, he's just known as a phenomenal guitar player. Like, it's really,
that's his thing.
Yeah. So like, that's really setting the bar from day one. Did you feel almost like not competitive with someone like that, but did that sort of spark the drive to really perfect your craft, do you think?
Yeah, yes. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's at that point, yeah, I was kind of obsessed with just playing. Like I don't think about it as much now, but like the actual just the technique of the thing, you know. So I would get these magazines. There was a couple of magazines, Guitar Techniques and Total Guitar, and I would you know, pick these up every month or whenever they come out, and they'd have a CD with them, you know, and you could put on the CD. I still have a bunch of the magazines that I keep, you know. I want to pull them out and learn some of those old pieces again. But I was really, really, really into the technique of playing as well as I could. And I remember, just from that type of music, I suppose, I remember speed being your thing. You know, if you could play really, really fast, you were really good. So I was pretty obsessed with that for a long time. And I did for Leaving Cert, which is our kind of the big state exams that you do when you're 17 or 18. I did music, and there was 50% of it was practical, where you would go in and play 4 or 5 pieces, and then the rest was theory. So I played a Joe Satriani song for my Leaving Cert
nice.
Practical exams. So it was fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. So then you got into songwriting then, like you mentioned at some point after that. Was writing a big part of, just writing in general, a big part of your life growing up and up until this point? Or is songwriting like one of the earlier experiences with it?
Songwriting was definitely the first experience, I guess. As I said, when I was a guy who played electric guitar, that's all I cared about. I just wanted to play electric guitar. I didn't really think all that much about the creative thing. You know, I was in these magazines and I was learning the things and turning up my amp, and I was very happy. And I think I was in a band for a little while in that kind of age group, 15 or 16, and we were writing some stuff, but I don't think I wasn't the songwriter. There was someone else who was kind of writing the songs, and I might try and come up with a guitar part. It was just guitar obsessed, you know. So there was a little bit from that point of view. It was like, what can I do with a guitar? But I always liked reading and stuff, but I never really thought that much about writing. And I think what happened was, I went from listening to the likes of Satriani and Steve Vai is another one I was a big fan of, and Eric Johnson, all those guys. And I went from kind of seeing those huge shows in kind of big venues in Ireland to, there was a switch around 17 maybe. I started going to little smaller shows in my hometown, like, you know, 100 capacity venue or 150 people maybe. And that was a lot kind of folkier, you know, a lot more folky. And it was people like Glenn Hansard from The Frames and Damien Rice and the whole kind of, anyone who was like an Irish songwriter at that time kind of passed through that venue, as well as some kind of American guys as well. I don't know if you know Josh Ritter. Do you know Josh Ritter? He's an incredible songwriter.
The name sounds familiar, but it doesn't ring a bell exactly. You
should check him out. He's so good. But he kind of played there as well on his first trip to Ireland. So, but in that kind of time frame, I went from being blown away by, you know, what you could do with the right guitar, with the right amplifier, with the right pedals, to just seeing a guy with none of that, like absolutely none of that, just an acoustic guitar and a voice and a song. And I remember there was some shift. It was like, oh my God, this is what it's all about, you know? Mm-hmm. And then just from there started listening to people like Bob Dylan and, you know, all that kind of classic songwriter crew. And then I kind of stopped listening to the more heavy guitar based stuff and got totally infatuated with the songwriting folky thing. And then from there, I think I bought an acoustic guitar because I thought, okay, this is what I like now. And then very, very, very slowly began writing a little bit here and there.
Yeah. So during that period of time, were you like working a different job? This was sort of a side like hobby, or were you all in on this being your path?
I remembered that same exam I was talking about, the kind of end of, I didn't go to college or university. I remembered at that age of 17 thinking, okay, whatever I want to do, it's music. I don't know how that's going to work. Still not 100% sure how it's going to work or how it works, but it's always this. It has to be music. So so I didn't do the college thing, but shortly after school, I went and worked in a record shop, in a music shop, for I don't know 5 years maybe or something like that. And in that time was just trying to get better at writing and writing a bit more and more. And actually, to bring it back to that guy, Vinny, who was my dad's friend, he around that time had been setting up a studio. So I ended up recording my first album at his place. So so there was a 4 or 5 year period of kind of working away and building up songs and thinking, yes, I'll do this album and that'll be the masterpiece and that'll solve everything. And
what is that vision? What is that vision of solving everything?
I don't know. It's okay. I couldn't exactly put a finger on it. I don't know. I guess you think, I don't know, maybe at that age you kind of feel it might explode a bit more or something, or because I've never done anything that before, you feel like just making a thing is going to be like, okay, I've done it. And then, but I think that mind frame changes as you go along, and you realize then that your job is to kind of keep doing it.
Yeah, that's part of why I started this show. It's called Starting Now, and it's to try and inspire people to get started, because like that is the first most important step. But then you have to keep going. Like if you can't just start and then let it fizzle out. And I think we have that like not expectation maybe, but that dream that it's like, oh, I do this one thing and then it's set. So I think it's really like it's important because you've been at this now for how many years since the first album?
So the first album was 2006. So what's that? That's 15 years, isn't it?
Yeah. Wow.
Yes. Yeah. 15 years.
Yeah, and you've navigated the space too as an independent, like fully independent the whole way, right? You've never done a record deal or anything.
No, it's been in indie all the way.
Yeah, which is so like I love that. Because we met a handful of years ago, and like we'd come from a very similar.
What year was that? Was that?
It would have been.
I was trying to remember.
2014.
2014. That sounds about right.
Yeah, because that was
in New York City.
New York City. Yeah, you were coming out for a show. You did you played music for the Men's. It was the trial run of the tour that eventually became the documentary. So that was an awesome night. Like I still think about that, like going out like afterwards for drinks, and I think we did like 4 a.m. Oysters and stuff. We were just it was a great night, great time. And you had and one of your friends, I think. Colm, was that his name?
Colm.
Yeah.
Colm. Yeah. Well done.
Yeah. But it was a good time. Crazy though. How fast.
Did we meet him? Did we meet him like halfway through that night? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I think maybe he had a show or something. It was like later in the night.
That was such a nice trip.
Oh yeah.
Such a nice time. And it worked. That was another thing that worked out kind of. Sometimes things work out really well, I remember like I had sent that one song to Joshua, every little thing, just on a whim, you might enjoy this, and he picked it up obviously and ran with it and used it for their podcast. But as they were setting up that tour or whatever, and I think I can't remember the name of the bookshop that we played in. Was it Housing Works is coming to mind, but I could be raving.
That sounds close, yeah.
It's an amazing store anyway. But I think Joshua emailed me and said, "Look, we're doing this a New York launch for the tour, the trial run of the tour and I said, "What would it take to get you to New York at such and such a day?" And it just so happened that I had already booked flights to be in New York at that time.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It was ridiculous. Like it was ridiculous. I was like, I'll be there anyway.
Yeah, and that's the thing because I like to talk about action a lot on this show and how, like, say serendipity or just random circumstance it can happen, but it only happens when we're taking action. When we started, like you were already out there. You reached out to Josh. You were already going to be in New York City. There's so many dominoes that fell that made that serendipity possible, and it's from your action, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, and action is what we're talking about earlier about, you can't just do this one thing and then it stops. I think I'm living in an old farmhouse here now in the countryside, and we've got a garden, and we've been trying to grow vegetables and plants and all this kind of stuff. So I think it's changing a little bit the way I think about things, like seasonally, and it's just amazing watching things grow. And then you think they've kind of died, but they're still storing up their energy, and then next year they come back again. So it's like these things are, it has to be alive, it has to keep moving, and I think that's what any really true good thing is. It's a commitment, and it has to recur and replenish itself and nourish itself, and it's not just, if it just happens once and stops, it's a dead thing, I suppose. It's a piece of plastic. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's hard to, and I mean the hard part is that journey. I mean, it's obviously very difficult to do that first thing, but to keep going and to keep the inspiration. And actually, along those lines, what inspires you today now, having been 15 years in? Like, what keeps you going and excited about writing music, performing music?
It's hard to say what it is exactly beyond that. It's hard to even speak about. It's just it's a drive, it's a thing that you're either all in, and I can answer this better. I think what inspires me is number one, I still love the instrument. I still love the guitar, and whether that's a psychological thing from starting at a certain age that it gets, dopamine, or it's burned in there or whatever. But I still, I guess that's the simplest thing. I still get a real kick out of picking up an instrument and playing on it, and like it's new every time or something. And it's just like the sound of it, the feel of it, and the fact that you can be creative on it, and and you can just have fun and play with it. So it's like every time you pick up an instrument, or even just pick up a pen and paper, you can potentially do something new, and that's a kick, and it doesn't end, I think, if you're lucky. So yeah, even it's ridiculous. It's an obsession of sorts, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's a wonderful obsession.
Yeah, you could be obsessed with worse things, I guess. But even having the new record finished, I start to get excited about finishing this room. And writing a new batch of songs and keep going.
Yeah, that's awesome. You've found your lane. That's the thing. Like, because you had your proclivity for it, and then you're like, oh, this is interesting, but you didn't just let that fester and just be a thing maybe that you might pursue.
Yeah.
Like, I love that you found it, and you still wake up in the morning excited to do it. Like, that is because like so many people aren't in that space. It's a hard thing to discover, but once you find it, it's like grab onto that with everything you have. I think it's hugely valuable for to have a satisfying, fulfilling life.
I think so. It's like it feels like to me like a relationship, and like I've been with my wife since 2002, so it's kind of like you asking me the same question. What does it take to keep going since for 18 years? It's like, it doesn't take anything. It's just it's every day is enjoyable, so you don't think about it. You just keep going and try and be thankful. So
so in terms of getting out there, getting on tour, getting your album out there, what were some of the ways that you started that trajectory going? Because you had the space to record, but then how do you get the music out, especially that long ago?
Yeah, from the very beginning.
Or just the early days, just as things were starting to maybe snowball together.
Yeah, well, I guess like that that time, 2006, it's a completely different time from a music standpoint, from an industry standpoint, I suppose. So like record stores were a lot more of a thing then than they are now. Online was a lot less of a thing, I suppose. So it was more of a focus about, let's print up CDs and let's figure out to get a way to get them into as many stores as possible. And then just trying to reach out to people and around booking shows. And I remember doing a lot of in-store performances. So yeah, I think at that point I had been working in a music shop until the time the first album came out. So I had some contacts in that kind of chain of stores, and then some other people. So there's a lot of going around to little record shops around the country and just playing little performances, and then you might go and do a show later on in the town that night. But it was all very, very kind of similar to what I'm doing with this new record, I suppose, except that there was a bigger focus. Like now it's shifted a lot more to Spotify, for example, and iTunes and all those online stores, and maybe not quite as much the brick and mortar stores as they say, but it's the same idea. You're trying to, I always kind of put all my energy into making the thing, making the songs first, and then recording them as well as possible, and then it's just you're trying to do your best to get the music to people and find ways to let them hear it. So that's always the mission, I suppose. And then along that trajectory, you're doing your best to try and get more people along and to know what you're doing. And everyone's kind of in the same boat, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
On different scales. But
do you feel like there was a moment that was sort of a tipping point or something for you, like that you could identify that, okay, this is now a feasible, like long-term option for me?
I don't know if there was ever like one huge thing, that it's always just been slow and steady, really, I guess, which I think suits my personality, I think.
Oh yeah, and that's perfect.
Yeah. So yeah, never one big explosion point. Just just a series of things growing it all the way. And then it's kind of funny because there's been quite a big gap between the record probably that I met you around to now. So that was 2014 was the last album I put out. So that's quite a big gap, and it adds up. So it's funny. And in that time, I got married and we moved to this house here in the country, and it's a 200-year-old house. So there's a lot of work kind of to be done here. So you're focusing on that for a little while. So in a way, this newer record feels like almost like a debut again, in a strange way. Like it's like a debut again, but with all this kind of knowledge and hopefully, following behind it. So it's interesting how it goes. Yet it's all tied in, obviously.
Yeah, and you were writing this album for most of that time, right?
Yeah.
Or like a lot of the songs anyway?
Yeah, for sure. Since 2015, I guess, until over those 3 or 4 years we started recording in 2019. So it's quite strange, like the way things have ended up with COVID. Like this album probably could have came out a year ago almost, So yeah, we started in 2019 and then spent the guts of a year recording it, not solid, but you do a week here and then a week here, and you're trying to line up, the different musicians and everything. And it all takes time. And as I said, then we were ready to mix it in March of last year, and everything stops. So, I was going to the studio and mixing with the guy there. So we didn't do it remotely. So it's just funny how it can, the years can kind of, they can expand, but I'm very happy to have it done now.
Oh yeah, for sure. And over that long period of time, then, like we hear a lot about the challenges of Spotify and maybe not like delivering as much income to the artist as we would hope and different things. How do you balance that? Like, however comfortable you are talking about like money and things, doesn't have to be specific numbers, but how do you, how have you found a way to like make ends meet and like do like, cause you're a successful artist, but there's so many other pieces when you're fully independent.
Yeah. True. Well, I know loads of people who are doing well. I suppose the last year not included because everything kind of fell apart in last year. But I do know loads of people who kind of give lessons, or they be in, you know, a cover band or a wedding band, and they're brilliant at kind of the hustle, you know. But I've never really, I've done a couple of cover gigs here and there, you know, but I could never really get into it, you know. I just never felt, even though you were getting a little bit of money or whatever, I never really felt like I could commit to it, you know. And when I get this space done, you know, I might consider recording other people here, possibly, or maybe a couple of lessons here and there. But for the most part, you know, I haven't really done any of those kind of side hustle things. So you're always just relying on whatever you can, you know, sell online or sell through your gigs, or make through your gigs. And you know, the Spotify thing, it comes in, you know, you get a little bit every month, and it all kind of trickles in and just about makes sense, you know, that kind of way.
Oh yeah.
And we're lucky here, as I said, we inherited this house, so there's no major pressure with mortgages or anything. So and my wife has a good job, so there's no like huge pressure, you know, on me month by month to kind of, you know, just make it. So
yeah,
so
awesome.
I've been really, really lucky in that way, because it gives you the freedom, you know. If you're not super panicked about that, it does give you the freedom to try and work on the craft.
Yeah, I was recently talking to a board game designer, and he's in a similar space where he's doing it out of the love for it. It's his hobby. It's an income stream and stuff. But just like you, like I love that space, because you're creating something special that maybe if there were other demands, other things that were in the way, you might not be able to do that. So really being able to hone in and follow this like you are, it's a wonderful opportunity, and I love that you're going with it.
Cheers.
Yeah. No, Cheers. It's great.
Yeah, and it's a difficult thing to balance, you know, for anyone, you know, in this game. But and the hope is that always, I came across a line once that I really liked, and the quote was, "You have to try and find a way to make art and money dance," you know, which I always thought was really cool. You know, that you're not really, really working just to get paid, but you find a way to make them work together, you know.
For sure.
So yeah, it's an interesting thing, but yeah, there's another Leonard Cohen line that comes to mind. Actually, he said, "I always wanted to be paid for my work as opposed to working for pay."
Yeah, so, I like that.
You know, if you can get to that point, you know, you're doing well.
Yeah. So, what ways can your fans best support you then? Is it through buying albums? Is it joining you on tour?
It's all those things, yeah. For sure. It's like when touring comes back, yeah, that's probably one of the biggest streams, you know, in reality for independent musicians. You know, if people actually come out and see a show, and buy a record, you know, after the show. But there's also places like, are you familiar with Bandcamp? Do you know that platform? Yeah. So like Bandcamp is fantastic platform for supporting musicians. And you can, you know, there's digital downloads there. You can buy merchandise usually for a lot of people. I've got my stuff up there. But it, you know, it all helps. Even like Spotify streams help. Spotify have also just recently added an option that you can donate directly to artists. So
nice.
That's another kind of interesting way. But it's all the classic ways, going to shows, buying records. I've just recently got a vinyl player here. So I'll try and, if I discover someone through Spotify, if I really like it, I'll try and, buy a record. So that $20 or what, €20 goes directly to the artist, and it's fun to kind of go, I supported them and now I have this little artifact to think of them,
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
I got a nice jazz record from Denmark there recently, again through Bandcamp. So yeah, I get excited about supporting other indie musicians as well. It feels like a good thing to do.
Definitely. And then when you're touring, you're not just in Ireland, you are in a lot of different countries. How have you balanced that? Because that's probably relatively expensive to get out there. So you got to make sure you get all the sales and everything.
Yeah. It's balance is the thing. I've done, like, I've played Ireland a lot, but I've played in Germany a good bit, and Belgium and Holland and places like that, and in the States a little bit. I'd like to do, providing the world opens up again, properly. I'd like to try and do a little bit more in the States. But yeah, when you go on the road, I guess you're just trying to be as smart as you can, as regards, if you're not blowing all your money on travel, or you're not blowing all your money on hotels, all that kind of thing. So it's just about, and if you're smart, if you can have good deals kind of in place before you go out, that at least you're getting such and such per gig, before you get there, so you can have an idea. But I've been lucky to meet a lot of nice people in different countries that are putting on gigs in interesting spaces, and I kind of miss that, because you make really good friends along the way as well. So I've got some people in Switzerland that put on shows, and they have this really old, really big house, and they put on like house concerts there, and it's just such a beautiful setup, and the Renee and Miriam, and Miriam, she cooks, so they'll invite people from the town, and then she'll cook, and at halftime everyone will have a break and have a little wine and a little food, and so there's all these like really special things that that you get to do. And those same people actually they run a show up in high up in the mountains. So we did this one show where we trekked for like 5 hours up pretty sure it was the Swiss Alps, so up to get to this hiking cabin basically, and to play a show. And at times I was like, this is a bit dangerous. I'm going to fall. I'm pretty sure I'm going to fall to my death. And I remember thinking, sometimes you're doing you have a show coming up and you're not sure, will there be people there tonight? How many people will show up? But I think about halfway through this journey, I kind of thought, if there's nobody at this gig, I understand. I don't know why anybody would climb a mountain to go to a gig. But we got up there and the place was full. It was sold out. So I don't know. Swiss people are crazy.
That's awesome. That just had to be a beautiful scene as well. And just getting up there, seeing all the people just waiting for you and everyone.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was really nice. So yeah, you're balancing kind of taking a chance on things like that, and then mixed up with, other gigs that how they're going to go, and yeah, just always trying to figure a way to meet good people, and try and do things that make sense. But it's not an easy way to go about making a living, really. But there's some incredible moments that you can get in this life.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, it sounds like you've made some wonderful connections along the way as a result.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's nice when you get to, keep in touch with people over the years, like Ryan from the Minimalist example, for example. He's been over in Ireland a few times now in the last year. So
nice.
Him and Mariah, they've stayed here at the house with us a couple of times. Yeah, so it's, you're just lucky. You're you're exposed to meeting good people, and if you click, it's just like you're building up a family. a family of good people. So it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, actually, even just talking about this makes me feel more excited about getting back into touring and all that, because I think because for the last year we've been not being able to do anything. It's almost like that part of your brain shuts down a little bit. It's like, okay, we're making the record and we'll put it out, and then we'll see. It's almost like I don't want to allow myself to get excited about that yet.
Yeah, with the unknown future at the moment.
With the unknown future, but I am just feeling a little bit excited now talking to you. So thank you for letting me talk about these things.
Of course.
And imagine a better future.
Yeah, for sure. Have you considered doing like Zoom shows or anything like people have? I mean, again, it does that divide. It's harder to really connect. But have you thought about that at all?
A little bit. I haven't done very many from the house here because I always feel a bit lacking in confidence with the Wi-Fi situation here. But it seems to be holding up okay this evening. I'm very impressed. So for that reason, I've kind of thought, no, I don't want to set up a whole show and then the internet will fail in the middle of the thing. But I did one thing last summer. There was some friends of mine who were recording a series of shows and then broadcasting them live, and that was a lot of fun. We did it in an old historic house about 10 miles from here, and that was nice. Again, we were just playing to the camera crew or whatever, but it was fun to get out and do something. And I have been trying to figure out something that could be interesting to do around the album release, because there certainly won't be any shows happening by then. So I would like to try and figure out a space that and I don't know, I might have to end up doing it solo, because in theory we're still not supposed to be getting too close to other people. But we'll see. I'd like to figure out something. I did see. I haven't watched that many online shows because I do feel like you were saying it's not quite the same, and but I did see one that really impressed me from the Punch Brothers. I don't know if you know that bluegrass band, and they did one from an official studio, and they had a great camera crew, and the audio was fantastic, obviously, and that felt like a gig, because you paid your $20 for a ticket or whatever, and it was at a certain time, and we showed up and listened to it here in the studio, and it sounded really great. So yeah, I think it can be done, but I think it's just trying to get the benchmark right for the quality to make it worthwhile.
Yeah, for sure.
Where challenge and opportunity.
Definitely. And to sort of swing back to songwriting just a little bit, where do you find your inspiration when you're writing? I mean, and also, would you say you have the lyrics and the concept for the album before the music, or sort of where does that how does that fit together for you?
For me, it kind of goes song by song. First of all, I know some people might sit down and kind of sketch out a concept album, if you will. But I've never really thought that way, that I want to write an album about this subject. It's always been more, I'll keep writing until there's enough songs that I feel are strong enough to belong together on a statement, that kind of way. Mm-hmm. So it's always like that, song by song, and you're just building it along, and then almost one day you just kind of write, you might write down the names of them all, and you go, oh my God, there's 11 songs there, and I think these are all pretty good. And then it's like, okay, let's try and record an album. Which is, I don't know, other musicians may work in a more structured way than that. But yeah, that's kind of how I go. And as regards lyrics or music first, sometimes they both kind of happen together. I won't sit down very often with just a pen and paper away from the guitar and write a full song and then come back to it and figure out music. If anything, it probably happens the other way a bit more often, for just kicking around ideas on the guitar, and then you'll start humming some sort of a melody or an idea, and then it's always quite organic like that. One kind of sketch will lead to something else. And on the new album, there's a lot of rewriting actually, and changing this until just trying to hone what it is exactly you're trying to say in a particular song, and having time to do that helped as well. I think that you're not on a deadline or on a schedule or anything like that, and having that freedom. So yeah, I don't know if I've answered your question, but it can kind of come in all different directions. But generally, it will be from picking up the acoustic guitar and just kind of daydreaming for an hour or two until something interesting starts to happen.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it really sounds like just a place of love and passion for the instrument and for the music. And because it's so hard to systematize art. And then as soon as you do that, it loses its authenticity. And I think like part of that, like your approach being in that way, I think that's wonderful. It's perfect. It makes the most sense, and clearly it results in amazing songs.
Yeah, well, you can. Thank you. But yeah, you can get lucky, I suppose, if you keep working. But I think I think about this a lot. I think there is a way to be structured about it. I think there's a lot to be said for committing to an hour a day, and or 2 hours a day, and see what happens without kind of putting any pressure on yourself to do anything in those 2 hours. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to have a finished anything, but if you can just if you can make a block of time where you're allowing yourself. Yes, if you're kind of rigid about that block of time, but then within that space, you have the freedom to just wander and see what happens.
Yeah, it's that deep work. It's the time for your mind to really start putting these different pieces together and figure out maybe new novel ideas that you wouldn't otherwise have had the opportunity to do.
Yeah. And that's what it is work, and it's time. There's a book, isn't there? Isn't there a book called Deep Work?
Yeah, that concept. Yeah, it's Cal Newport. And yeah,
yes.
it's a really wonderful book, and carving out that time for deep work, just how important it is, and not constantly switching between this and that, emails and phone calls and all these things, because it takes away from our ability to just sit and think and ponder and develop ideas.
I did read that book. And it's very important. It's not easy to do. It's not easy, and I go through periods where I'm kind of good at it, and then you'll get distracted, and then you're just grabbing a half an hour here or a half an hour there. But I think if you could commit to that big time, I'd probably have a bigger output. But it's just about managing to find the time to make things.
Yeah, for sure. So with the album coming out and everything, what are you most excited about moving forward? I mean, probably opening up, but
I'm excited about people hearing it, for sure. And it's been really fun. We've put out a couple of singles. I know you reached out after hearing the first single, so and I just put out the second one last Friday. A song called Blue Mountain. So I'm kind of enjoying this experience of kind of putting it out one song at a time, at least to kind of build up the interest, hopefully. But it's kind of a strange feeling being, I'm staying in this 5 kilometer zone, and then the song is kind of going out into the world. So it's like it's like it's having all the adventures, and you're watching it kind of happen. Oh, that's interesting. So I'm enjoying kind of getting the feedback, and I think I'm really looking forward to. We're making a vinyl for this album, which I've never had before. So I think when that arrives, it'll be like, oh, cool, this actually exists. It's not just in my head. So all those things, I'm looking forward to that being done, and just for people to hear it, I'm really excited about. That new song has taken off pretty well on Spotify, which I was really excited by and kind of surprised by. I think it's actually it's every little thing. The Minimalist song is kind of like, it's on a different kind of platform to every other song I have on Spotify because of the Minimalist. It's like it's gone over a million plays, so it's like it's ridiculous. It's through the roof. But this month, this new song has actually surpassed every little thing for
That's awesome.
for not for total plays or anything, but for this month. It's like, finally there's a. In fact, my wife Therese, we were talking about this. So the song came out on Friday. And we were kind of looking at the numbers go up and up, and it's very exciting. And Trey said to me, imagine having 2 hit songs.
I love that.
I just had to laugh so much.
Uh-huh.
You wouldn't want to take offense,
Yeah. Do you find yourself sort of hunting for that then? Like, since Every Little Thing took off, has it been sort of a nagging thing in the back of your mind at all, or?
No, not at all.
Okay,
no,
good.
not at all. Because whatever happens, I feel like I can just do the best I can do, and then see what happens. Like things like that are beyond my control, I guess. You can try your best to get it to the right people, and then after that, if it clicks with people and then they share it or however it works, I don't feel like I would ever think about trying to chase anything like that, because you can't. It's like if I sat down and said, okay, I want to write another song, and people do this, and it's a totally different skill set. If I thought I want to get another really big song that goes really, really well on Spotify, it's like I would hate myself. So it was just fun. It's fun to see how things develop, and the new song is a solid song, and it's really well recorded, and I'm very proud of it. But there's a girl singing on it called Hayley Hendricks, who I think is just an incredible songwriter and singer, and so part of it is she would have quite a big following on Spotify. So obviously a lot of her people are getting to hear the tune, which is amazing, and it's beautiful. And I'm so excited and thankful for it, but it's hard to plan for it,
Mm-hmm.
So it was just interesting to see how things work. So like so much of that is algorithmic. Is that the word, algorithmic?
Uh-huh.
It's like it's just out of your control. But I'm just very thankful that there's people hearing it. And I just on Friday when it came out, I was kind of I remember waking up going, I'm going to spend the whole day now. I don't really like. I'm not fair. I love the creative side and the writing side, and I've got a PR woman who's helping me with try and get to radio and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not very good at the sell. Listen to my work and you got to listen to this. But I said on Friday, I said I'm going to spend the whole day now, and I'm just going to write to everyone I know and say listen to the song. And whatever happened with the way it took off on Spotify, I was just kind of looking. There's an app where you can kind of track the plays, and it was just kind of going into the thousands quite quickly. And I was like, this is weird. And then I just kind of was watching that all day, going, this is very strange. And then realized that I could have spent, a week or a month texting everyone I knew to listen to it, and I probably wouldn't have got anywhere near that. So you just have to laugh or something. It's kind of out of your hands.
And like you said, collaborating with the other singer too helps, because you're reaching a new audience, and there's all these things that you've done right. You've made a great song that people like, and it's all sort of, it's self-fulfilling with time, I think, and it's hitting the right people at the right time, like you said.
Yeah, and you're right, and timing and luck, and but also you have to. There has to be some kind of connection there with these people. Like it's similar.
Absolutely.
It's similar in a little way than what happened with the Minimalists. You should listen to Hayley. Actually, she's so good. But I met her quite randomly, probably around the same time. I think it was probably around 2014 in Dublin at like an open mic night in Dublin, and she was traveling. She was in Ireland on her own, and she was playing at this open mic, but she had no guitar. And so the owner, whoever the guy who was running the night, said, "Can this girl can she use your guitar?" And I would be, you'd be protective, and oh yeah, okay, but you're worried that don't drop the guitar, or will this girl be any good, or will she be nice, and she got up and played this first song, and like from the first 10 seconds, I was just like, okay, this woman knows what she's doing. Nice. She was such an accomplished player, and her voice was amazing. And yeah, you just get lucky with meeting people sometimes, and it kind of just got on really well. And I think she was here for a week, and I'd actually asked her at the time, after just meeting her, I was recording the Outlines album, and I said, "Would you be able to come down to where I'm recording and maybe sing on a song?" And we were almost got to do it, but it didn't work out in the finish. But then fast forward 5 years, the timing kind of worked out again. She was traveling through Ireland, and I said, "I have this other song. Would you like to sing on this song?" "Yeah, sure." And so I opened up a few shows for her around Ireland, and again, she stayed in the house with us here for a little while. And I think I said that already. Yeah. And then, yeah, so it's just timing
and patience, and like just you're building up your network and connecting with people like in an authentic way, and given some time, things just fall into place like with her.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then, and the nicest feeling is that sometimes you worry, or, the insecure parts of you kind of worry that you do all this work and that, maybe nobody really gets to hear it. So it's just very rewarding when people are hearing it,
Yeah.
So
definitely.
That's what I'm excited about at the minute. I think because the album has been finished a while now, I feel like I have a distance to it somehow. So it's like, here's the thing. I hope you enjoy it.
Definitely. Well, this has been great. Where should we then send people? What would be best for you?
I think probably Bandcamp be best. peterdoran.bandcamp.com. But anywhere that people can hear the music is good. Spotify, obviously, it's all up there as well. And there's a peterdoran.com that I'm trying to update a bit more regularly now, and adding blogs and stuff there. So yeah, anywhere people listen to music, they should be able to find something by me.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and this is the 5th album now, right? I think.
Yes.
So lots of music out there, lots of great stuff. So definitely check it out. And yeah, thanks again, Peter. This has been great.
Talking. It's so good to see you, and I hope I can get to see you in person again.
Yeah, it's long overdue. This is just a random question just came to mind. It would be weird probably to play over this. Right? Like acoustic there?
Not necessarily.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but I was just thinking that's just cool to me.
We could try it.
I mean,
we do it.
Whatever works for you would be awesome.
I think I'll do Blue Mountains.
Sweet.
Because it's a bit more in my head at the minute. You getting that?
Oh yeah.
Okay. This is fun.
I hope I'm not putting you on the spot, but I love this. This is so cool.
Absolutely not. I couldn't very well talk to you for 10 minutes about how much I loved playing the guitar and singing songs, and I go, oh no, I'm not in the mood. That wouldn't be very cool. Okay, I'll try it. This is Blue Mountains. I never been to the Blue Mountains, but I've been there in a song. Never have I loved like this one. It just keeps rolling on. And I never been hit by lightning, but I know that life is long. I've never been to the Blue Mountains, but I've been there in a song. And I see the wine and the fire in you. I see the mountains blue. And I never killed a man, and I never robbed a train. Never had a deep thought when I'm walking in the rain. And I never lit a holy candle and wished my life would change. I never wished for anything outside this mountain range. And I see the wine and the fire in you. I see the mountains blue. See us in a cabin underneath the stars, far away from time, love, but close to who we are. And nobody can find us, they don't know where to start. We're lost in blue mountains, under golden stars, golden stars. And I see the wine and the fire in you, and your heart's a mountain too. And I see the fire in me and you, and in our eyes the mountain's blue.
Dude, that is beautiful. Thank you so much. That is awesome. I love that.
Welcome. Thank you. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
just to bring things full circle. This guitar was once owned by the guy Vinny that I was telling you about earlier. That my kind of first musical mentor.
Oh wow!
I was lucky enough to have an opportunity to buy it after he passed away. So it's a very special guitar for me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was amazing. Thank you so much, like for everything, for chatting. It's awesome to reconnect. Thanks for playing the music, and just thanks for doing what you do, because like you bring so much joy to people through your music that like it's so hard, I think, to have that expressed to you, because like you said, you're putting it out there. It's right now you're in a 5-kilometer lockdown, but the music is getting everywhere. Thousands of people are just loving it like every month, and yeah. So just, thank you so much.
Thank you for saying that. It's very, very kind of you. And thanks for the invitation. I've had a lot of fun.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, so we'll definitely have to stay in touch.
You're a good man. You're a very good man. And,
you too.
And good luck with everything you're doing. It's fantastic. The whole thing is fantastic.
Oh, well, thank you. And if there's anything we can ever do to help, it's just what we do, and we're always happy to contribute however we can. So.
You're a gentleman. Thank you. Thank you so much. Keep in touch, okay?
Yeah, you too. Definitely.
Be good, Jeff. Thanks, dude.
See ya.
Bye.
I want to thank Peter for joining me on this episode. Be sure to definitely check out his music, whether it's Spotify or elsewhere. But as you mentioned, Bandcamp. Bandcamp.com. I believe it's bandcamp.com/Peter Doran. Or if you just search for him there, you'll definitely find his music, and you'll be able to support the awesome work that he's doing. So definitely check it out and let him know that we sent you. As always, this episode of Starting Now is brought to you by Built. At Built, we help you get started online. Whether you want to start a blog or a business, head on over to built.co. That's BYLT.co to get started. Built, your website, built for you, simply. And finally, if you're enjoying the show, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and subscribe wherever you're listening right now. And as always, if you're liking it and you're only listening, I'd love it if you checked out the video version. It's my favorite version of the show. You get to see Peter's smiling face, playing the acoustic guitar, and just it's just a lot of fun. And I love putting those videos together. So I would absolutely, truly appreciate if you gave me your feedback and let me know what you think. Well, anyway, that'll do it for this week. Again, this is Starting Now. I'm Jeff Sarris, and I want you just to get out there, get started on that next idea, and really just run with it, because there's nothing holding you back except yourself. See you next week.